Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the top right portion of the screen, because let's face it, everything else is just darkness. Okay, for this week's Patreon video, it is Wednesday, it's time for a video. For this week's video, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. And therefore, without further ado, I give you the musical Saw! Yes, everything you're about to hear was recorded live. There are no tricks involved. Just a common Take two! Just a common household tool and a violin bow. I hope you enjoy. All right, so that was the musical Saw, and there's a few questions that I usually get when I play the Saw, and so I thought I'd answer a couple of those questions. People ask, did I make this up? Did I start this? Absolutely not. There is a long history of people playing this instrument. I would encourage you to go to YouTube and do a search for musical Saw. You will be blown away by the level of musicality that people are able to get out of this instrument. I only dabble in this, and I've played it one time in a professional show, and it was more of a gimmick than a real, aesthetic addition to the show. But there are people that make this instrument really sing. It can be very beautiful and haunting. Check it out on YouTube. Watch the professionals do it. But I thought it might be fun to share it with you here. People ask if it's a special saw. So this saw actually has a stamp on it that says professional musical saw. But I think that's a little misleading because really this is just a handsaw. These teeth are sharp. I think what they have done is picked out an actual woodworking tool that is sort of the right dimensions and the right thickness, and they have put a stamp on it. I really don't think they've done anything other than that. It might be that they are building these from scratch, but I don't think so. A common handsaw, from your tool shed will do the same thing that this saw does. So no, it's not particularly a special thing. Violin bow, any violin bow will work. I'm using a weird violin bow called an Incredibow. That marketing department must have had a fun time coming up with that one. The other question I get is it hard? And the answer is, yeah, actually it's pretty darn hard. There's a couple things that make playing the saw hard. One is that it's an instrument that, like the violin, doesn't have any pitch reference to it. You don't have frets. There are no markings to show you where the pitch is going to be. It's all by feel, and that's very difficult to get used to. The other thing that makes it very difficult is that, similar to the violin, if you've ever taken a violin lesson or watched somebody learning the violin, there's a very specific, narrow, sweet spot on the strings, and you're always trying to keep the bow making contact in that sweet spot. And if you go out of that sweet spot, that's when you get some of the scratches and squawks that you've probably heard beginners make. The musical saw has the exact same problem, except that it's compounded by the fact that it's constantly moving. The sweet spot moves with the pitch. So as you bend the saw, you have to adjust where you're playing. You might have heard in the actual song a couple places where the saw sort of stopped really ringing out or singing this because I didn't hit the sweet spot. It's constantly moving. It's very small. It's very specific. And that makes it very hard as well. Trying to think what else people ask me about the saw. I think that's mostly it. And so that's this week's Patreon video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Hey.